Hello and welcome to Relationship and Marriage. My name is Enefia Duncan. Today we're talking about adultery, the weapon of adultery. Now, this is not my favorite topic, but we're talking about marriage and relationship. We just have to touch on the subject of adultery. Now, the Bible says in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 32, that he that committed adultery lacks understanding. Whoever doeth it destroys his own soul. Now, the Bible doesn't say that you lack self control, it doesn't say that you're tempted. No, it says you lack a basic understanding of some things. And I hope by this short video that I'll be able to give you some understanding of what adultery is and the harm that that weapon can cause, because it's a weapon that the enemy uses very, very effectively to ruin lives, to ruin marriages. Now, adultery is from the root word adulterate, which means that the composition of something is no longer the same as it was before. Either it has been watered down or a foreign substance has been added to it and it's no longer the same. And that is what adultery does. When you commit adultery in your marriage is no longer the same. It's no longer the same. In the book of Ecclesiastes, it says a threefold cord cannot easily be broken. And that threefold cord in your marriage is you, your spouse, and God. So when you introduce the fourth party, it is corrupted. It is totally corrupted. All right, so it destroys marriages. Your marriage can never, ever be the same again. It is not important whether you were caught in the act or not. But you see that things will change in your marriage. Right from the moment you commit adultery the first time, your marriage can never remain the same again. Unless there is confession, healing, and forgiveness. Forgiveness and healing, sorry. Confession, forgiveness, and healing, where you can bring God back into the picture again. Because the moment you commit adultery, God is no longer committed to keeping that relationship together any longer. He's out of the picture. He can't stand it. The bed is defiled. So, it destroys your marriage. You may still be married and you're committing adultery, but your marriage is no longer the same. Even you yourself that are committing it, you know it's no longer the same again. You're living in fear. If my wife finds out, or if this happens, or if that happens. Right? So it's no longer the same again. That's the first thing. It destroys marriages. Secondly, adultery destroys you, the person that is committing it. In that same Proverbs chapter 6, if you read right from verse 27, or I think yes, 27, on verse 27, it says, by means of a whorish woman, a man is reduced to a loaf of bread. That is, your value as a man drops when you commit adultery. Your value as a man drops when you commit adultery. It continues to say, can a man take fire into his bosom and expect his clothes not to be burnt? Or can a man step on coals of fire and expect not to be burnt? That's exactly what adultery is. Adultery is fire. You are playing with fire. It can destroy you. It can kill you. Ministries have been destroyed because of adultery. Destinies have been destroyed because of adultery. Companies have been brought down. Great men have been brought down because of adultery. So you're not going to be the first. And God's word cannot lie. Look at what happened in David. Just one act of adultery. God told him, what you did in secrecy, the neighbor is going to do it to your wife publicly. And it was even worse than that. It was his son, Absalom, that did it publicly. Slept with the wives of David publicly. The whole Israel saw it. So that's to show you that God takes adultery very, very, very seriously. And it's not to be joked with. Adultery also makes you, the person that committed it, to live in secrecy. You start hiding your phone, letters, you delete text, your life, you're no longer secure, you're no longer free. Your phone will be full of different kinds of security, not against thieves or hackers, but against your wife. And it doesn't make sense living that kind of life. That's no longer a marriage any longer. And also, when you commit adultery, you are moving from security, the security of your marriage, to chaos, to total chaos. Why? Because God has left. And when God has left, chaos ensues. You will find out that things start happening in the house that you can't even put a finger to it. But it's that act of adultery. Because God is out of the equation, things begin to spoil in your house. You begin to have temper swings anyhow. Your wife begins to misbehave anyhow. Things begin to change around you, even in your business, things will change. You'll be sacked from your job just because of that. Favor disappears. So please, adultery is very, very serious. It affects the children too. If you have children in your marriage, it affects the children. It even affects the wider society. Because when an adulterer sits down with another adulterer or sits down in the company of adulterers, this one will say, nah, that your chick, that your side chick, they'll be boasting about their acts of adultery. And they kind of water down the sanctity of marriage, the sanctity of faithfulness in marriage. And when it continues spreading like that, society becomes watered down, the values of marriage become watered down, and there's chaos in society. I have said it in previous posts that most of the things we are seeing in Nigeria is because of the breakdown of the family system. And adultery is part of it too, where we have side chicks. It's so common nowadays. Side chicks, sugar mummies, side bobos. It devalues marriage totally. It doesn't make your marriage work for you. So what do we do? What do we do in this kind of era? What do we do in this kind of times? The only thing the Bible recommends for adultery is tuka, flee. That is not the time to be binding and casting. That is not the time to say, I am a man of integrity. No. When temptation comes, what? Flee. Flee. Joseph took off, left his shirt, left his jacket, left everything. Leave everything. Leave your possessions and flee. Leave everything and flee. Paul said it, flee from all. He didn't say stand and rebuke immorality. Flee from it. Can you imagine a scene where where a woman is undressing before a pastor, the pastor is binding and casting and speaking in tongues. Before you know it, you are caught. In that kind of situation, run. So flee from it. Also, as a man, as a husband that is married, all right, you have to take practical steps towards ensuring that you don't find yourself in compromising situations. And even in the workplace, when you find out you are getting too attracted to somebody of the opposite sex, all right, because it can happen. It does happen most of the time. You have to take practical measures to make sure that two of you are not together at any point in time. That is alone, I mean, any point in time where misbehavior can come in. Or if possible, change jobs. If possible, change departments. All right? But you are not supposed to say, I'm a hard man. Let me stay. Nothing will happen. I'm a man of moral character. Before you know it, you are fallen. The Bible says, he that feels that he is strong, let him take heed lest he falls. Even in the faith, it's the same thing. So don't think I'm too strong to go again. No. Everybody is vulnerable to sexual immorality. Every man, especially men, are vulnerable to it. So don't try to be a superman. Samson, you are not more stronger than Samson. You're not more holier than David. So let's all flee. Let's all create that distance that's needed to keep our marriages safe and sound. I hope you've learned something today about how to keep your marriage clean. Until next time, my name is Enefia Duncan, and I say stay safe.